Take a look at this. It's absolutely beautiful. Fajitas. This is the way we do it in Texas, and we really jazz it up sometimes. Here I have poblano peppers and some beautiful bell peppers in different shades, and also these red onions. You don't have to use red, you can use whatever you want. And this wonderful skirt steak that's been marinated for hours and then grilled with mesquite smoke. Up here I've got this beautiful guacamole, fresh made. We got some Monterey Jack cheese, that's a pepper jack, and over here I have just a little bit of Pico De Gallo and also some corn tortillas, and that is the way we do fajitas in Texas, folks. If you want to try this out, give it a shot. If you like, also you can add in sour cream. It's not one of my things, and it's not traditional to Mexico either, so I just kind of leave it out unless I'm just in that mood. Give it a try. I think you're going to love this stuff. Hello. Welcome back to Texas Cooking Today. On this episode, we're going to be making fajitas. And I don't know if you've ever had fajitas before, but if you have, you know that they're a treat. And I'm going to show you the right way to make it. I'm going to show you the right marinade. I'm going to show you the right sides to make it just right. But also, and most important, I'm going to show you the right way to take care of beef skirt steak. It's very difficult for people to work with that, and I want to show you the right way to remove the connective tissue, any extra fat you want to remove, and how to cook it up just right for true fajitas. Alright, now fajitas are both Texas and Mexican staples, so I'll tell you what, come a little closer and I'll show you what we're going to use for this wonderful dish. Okay, let's go over all of the ingredients we're going to be using for beef fajitas. We're going to start right here with our meat. In the upper left corner of your screen, you'll notice this beautiful pair of flank steaks. Now, the flank is the lower side of the cow next to the belly, and it is a very stringy meat. It has a lot of connective tissue, and it's really difficult to work with. Once you learn the tricks, it's not that tough, though, and I'm going to show you exactly how to clean it up the right way to get it marinated and then how to cook it properly. Now, in our marinade, and let me move this out of the way, gotta have something special to make it a little more special. On the marinade itself, I'm going to be using a combination of lime, some salt, some chili powder, cayenne, paprika, cumin, and black pepper. Now the chili powder, I want to speak about this right quick. Not all chili powders are made alike, okay? So what you want to do is read the label, and if you've got a bunch of weird stuff in there like nutmeg and garlic powder and onion powder, we'll move to the next one until you find one that's made of nothing but chilies. This one's like a combination of ancho and pasilla and several other chilies that are ground together. Cayenne is a chili, paprika is a chili. Okay, so this is what we're doing, is we're just getting chili flavor in the meat, and also cumin, which is a seed, and it has a really strong, robust, dry flavor. It's perfect for this dish. Now, also, for our sides, we have some bell peppers. These are really common when it comes to doing fajitas, and I've brought in these to bring in more color to the dish, as well as some red onion. And I love poblanos, okay? I would much rather have a poblano over a bell pepper any day of the week. The poblano just has a better chili flavor to it, and I'm much more fond of it, so I always have these with my fajitas. I have here some cilantro, some jalapenos, some tomatoes, and yellow onion, and this is going to make a nice Pico De Gallo. As well as back here we have some avocados, and we're going to be using the avocados to make a wonderful avocado dip. It's called guacamole. If you've never had that before, it's fantastic too. So in this one show, you're going to pick up a lot of different things on how to make a true fajita meal. Now, last thing that you're going to need that's not showing out here is going to be tortillas. In Texas and in fact all over Texas, it's really common for there to be a diversity when it comes to tortillas, because about half the people like flour, the other half like corn. So here we see both commonly used. In Mexico, it would be more of just the corn tortilla. So let's move on to the next, and one last thing back here, don't forget, some cheese if you like. Let's not use an English cheese. Let's use something like a queso fresco, something that you might see in Mexican culture, okay? And this time, I'm using a Monterey Jack, and this is a pepper jack. Now, I thought that would be just perfect for this dish. But at least I'm not using like a cheddar, which is an English cheese. So, let's move on. We're going to start with how to handle the meat. Here we are with our steaks. What I want to do first is to use some gloves and glove up. Now you don't have to do this, and the reason I like to do this is because when I'm finished working with this, I don't want to have to stop and re-scrub my hands. I've already washed them once, they're good and clean, and I just want to move straight on to the next thing. I'll wash if one of these breaks, but if not, I can just take them off and I'm right on to my next job. Now, when it comes to this kind of a cut, it's first of all, a very stringy meat, and they're very long. Let me stretch it on out. Notice there's some loose fat on it. This is common. And you can see the grain of the meat runs very neatly and evidently in one direction. And there's connective tissue wherever you see this fat and the what they call silver skin under it. That's all connective tissue, and it's always the worst on the back. And if you've ever gone to a restaurant and gotten this in your meat, you know it's nasty, okay? And it's hard to chew, and you wish that the chef had better sense to go ahead and remove it. And I've been to restaurants where I've had to face that before, and I wasn't very happy about the situation. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to open this up, clean it up. Now when you're using a knife for this kind of work, I recommend like a boning knife like this. A small paring knife like this will work good also. Just make sure that the tip is razor, or it comes to a fine point, and that the blade is razor sharp. A large knife like this can be used, but it's a little unwieldy for making delicate cuts like this. For chopping through it would be one thing, but I kind of avoid using my chef's knife when it comes to doing this kind of work. I want to start on the back, because this is the worst part. Now, first thing I'll do is slip my knife, and that's the reason you want that pointed in, right under that what they call silver skin, and I want to turn it slightly up, just like so, and make a sawing motion. Sometimes it'll come through it, and what this will do when you turn your knife blade up is that protects the meat underneath from being gouged, and you get just the fat. Every once in a while you're going to gouge the meat, okay? Just don't lose sleep over it. There we go. Turn that knife up. Goes right under it. Isn't that beautiful? As you can see, there's not much to this. Very easy work. But the real trick to this, and there is a trick, and that is the blade has to be razor sharp. If it's not, this doesn't go well at all. Now this right here is mostly just surface fat. I want to remove just a little bit of it, but not all of it. I like keeping some of that surface fat because it adds a great deal of flavor to this meat. Right here I have more of that connective tissue under fat. Now when you are working on these, you're going to notice that the flank steak has some deep bands of fat that run across, run across the length of the cut, but along the grain, and it kind of divides it into little segments. And try not to cut all of that out, because if you do, it's going to weaken the structure of the meat. But also, you're cutting out a lot of flavor once that fat melts, and it helps to soften the meat. It's a wonderful thing. Now, a lot of places that you buy meat, they'll go ahead and do this for you if you want them to. There is an extra charge on that a lot of times. For some people, it's worth it. Me, I like to work my own meat. When it comes to grinding my own meats, I do my own grinds. When it comes to cuts like this, I just want them as raw and natural as possible, and that way I can clean it up my way. And a lot of times they're going to partially clean up the top to make the meat look prettier on the display case. Now right here I want to lose some red meat, but I don't mind because there's a lot of connective tissue there and it would be a real problem. Okay, that piece keeps sticking to me. Now another way you can get this without running your knife directly under it, just start on the edge, turn your knife up. Not quite as easy. I find it easier to go up under it. And And I do like to remove as much of the connective tissue as absolutely possible. Even if I have to make a little bit of red meat sacrifice, I will do that. Isn't that looking nice now? Isn't that simple? We've almost finished one full cut. Right here I have that, what I was talking about, those little bands of fat that run through there. That's one right there. There we go. Now the marbling that runs through this also really helps with flavor, and that's also why this is the preferred cut for this dish. You have to understand, this is a dish of that's used for celebrations in Mexico, and it's not a common man's dish because it's an expensive thing to purchase beef in a poor country like that, and so not just everyone gets a chance to do this on just a regular basis. It's usually more as a food for celebrations or holidays. We are back with marinating now. Okay, let's get these stretched out in our pan. You notice I'll switch to tongs. This makes handling this a lot easier. I always tell people that one of the things you want to have the most in the kitchen, more than spoons or turners or spatulas or anything like that, is tongs, because these things are supremely helpful. Now, on marinating, what we're going to do is a combination of lime juice, salt, chili powder, cayenne, paprika, cumin, and black pepper. I'm going to start covering the hole on my lime juice bottle, just so I get a good sprinkling of it, because I don't want to just actually pour it on there. There we go. I want a good covering and plenty to sit in the pan. And I'm going to do that again on the back side. Let's hit it with some salt. Good. Slide this out a little. The chili powder I want to go lightly on. I want this to be the predominant flavor. I just want those other chilies to have their place. The cayenne, watch out for cayenne. If you use too much of it, you're going to have a raging hot piece of meat. Paprika, you can use as much of the paprika as you like. Paprika is a nice mild pepper. It's a beautiful little red chili. The cumin, a moderate amount of cumin. This has a potent flavor to it, and it really comes across strong. And this is similar to doing a dry rub, but it's just basically a dry marinade. So, simple enough. I simply want to turn these over, and I want to repeat the process on the second side. It's now time for us to make our Pico De Gallo and the guacamole. There's something I wanted to mention though. A lot of times you see me glove up and I'll tell you, oh, it makes cleanup a lot easier. That's true. However, this is one of those times I'm going to recommend you glove up for serious reasons. The capsaicin that is in hot peppers such as serranos or jalapenos, habaneros, any kind of a hot chili like that, it will cause burning on your skin. Now my hands are used to it. However, if I were to scratch under my eye, then suddenly that area under my eye would be burning badly because of just the transfer of capsaicin one place from another. And the stuff doesn't wash off easy. The easiest way to remove it from your skin is to coat your skin in oil and then wash that oil off. And you might have to do that 2 or 3 times, but the oil will dissolve the capsaicin and help wash it away from your skin. Now, when handling these little peppers, first I like to cut that stem end off. And I started with 3 medium-sized jalapenos. And I'm going to put that to 2 tomatoes, and I think that'll give me a nice proportion of ingredients. I want them to be proportionally correct. Now I run my knife through the inside, cutting off this interior portion. This whole section is where you're going to find the bulk of the heat in any chili, okay? And that is where it develops it along that membrane that connects the seeds to the chili. Give that a bit of a shake. See how I do that? Just gently slide my knife through there. Like another cut in the back. I'll move a few things out of my way here. I have a long knife and I want to have plenty of room. I'm going to push down on this and I want to make thin, long, narrow slices. I want to do that to each and every one. I want big chunks of jalapeno in my Pico De Gallo, because I don't want somebody biting down on that much hot all at once. I want it to be dispersed more in an even flavor. The tomato chunks will be a lot larger. Now when I get several cut like this, get them evened up, and I just want to gently make cross cuts so I can fine dice this. And I'm getting dice that's anywhere from 1/8 of an inch to 3/16 of an inch square. So very tiny. However, all very even as well. On the tomatoes, I just want to cut those in half. Nice and easy, just like so. And again, if you have a nice sharp knife, doing things like this is very simple. Now the next thing I want to show you, instead of doing some simple or fancy carving, I want to remove the pulp from the center of this and also the center spine, which is kind of whitish in color. If you'll notice what I do, I just pinch those right out of my way and push the seeds and that juice right off to the side. And that's exactly what I want on each of these, because I want just the meat of the tomato. Sometimes it'll squirt a little, don't let that bother you. Now, some chefs will show you, oh, there's another way. You can take your knife and make a good curved cut. And they're right, because I want to remove that anyway. So it makes it just a little bit easier in some ways. Make sure if you have a very sharp knife to be careful on those kinds of cuts, that you don't go too far or too deep with your hand underneath it. There we are. Now I cleaned those up, and that's the meat that I want to use for this. I'll simply remove this. Discard it. There we go. Now again, I'm cutting from that skin side. I push it down. Curve those fingers under, thumb behind. And I want to make cross cuts, and I want these to be more about 1/4 of an inch. And if you notice, sometimes I like to aim the blade, the edge of the blade, away from myself so it's tilted just a little bit. Once I get those cut, these will be about 1/4 of an inch in size. That makes for a real nice size for a Pico De Gallo. Now I have one thing left that I want to show you on unique cutting, and that is when it comes to onions. Okay, and this is some good rules here. When you cut an onion, if you avoid cutting into the root end, it's not going to weep as much. That's where it really seeps a lot of that juice out that releases the sulfuric fume that makes you cry. So let's avoid cutting this end and cut the stem end where the stalk grows out of it. I want to make one cut there. Very simple. I want to remove this outer layer because parts of it are kind of papery. So I'm going to make a simple cut all the way up and around and remove this outer layer. Go. Very easily done. Now, To make a good safe cut without this rolling around, on the side of the root I'm going to make a downward cut, just like so. I can flip my onion around at that point and make the same cut on the opposite side. This gives me 3 equal pieces and allows me a lot easier work when it comes to my onion. Let me show you what I mean. When I'm going to make some nice dice with an onion, this is going to be a medium dice, so I'm going to make a single cut through this part of the onion. If I wanted to be a fine dice, I could make 2 cuts through there. Also, narrowing up this cut can make a finer dice. Now watch what I do. I make a downward cut and I slide the knife back on the board, not lifting it. And that's important because if your finger is going to be on the opposite side, keeping that from sliding back, you don't want this blade coming up off of the board, okay? Now, perfect diced onion. There we have it. Isn't that beautiful and simple? It doesn't get much easier than that. My pico, we're almost all there. The next thing I want is my cilantro. And I'm going to do a fine chop on the cilantro, but it doesn't have to be like super fine. I'm going to take the leaves on the tip here and I'm just going to fold them over a little bit and bunch them all up real nice and tight and hold them with my fingers. I'm going to take my knife and I'm making a forward motion like this as well as up and down, and that gives me a slice rather than a chop. On these leafy greens, that's important because you want it to not bruise it as much, okay? And that's a good way to avoid bruising it. 5 minutes left until we have to turn that meat. There we go, cilantro, all of it right down in there. There's some large leaves as well as a small chop, and that's okay. Now, salt. Okay, that's about 1/4 teaspoon, about 1/2 teaspoon. That right there is 1/4 cup of lime juice. You can squeeze fresh limes into this if you want, but frankly, I use so much lime juice, I just keep a bottle of it around, and it's a lot more handy that way. I want to turn this really well, mix the ingredients well. There we are. Brush off as much of that cilantro as I can, and I am finished. I have a beautiful Pico De Gallo. Now let's get on with making some guacamole. I have here an avocado. Now when you're cutting an avocado, first thing you want to do, if there's a label, remove that if you want, and pop off the stem if it's there. Just push it sideways and it'll snap right off. Take your knife and run it straight into the side and you'll immediately feel the pit. Turn it slightly to the bottom, rotate it over the top and all the way around, just like that. That's all you have to do. Give this a bit of a twist and it comes apart. Sometimes you'll see some dark spots. That's not a problem. You can cut those right out. Getting that pit out, that's kind of tricky. Gently take your knife, drive it into the pit, and give it a bit of a turn, and it comes off. Again, just take that knife gently into the pit, give it a turn, and it comes off right there. Now, I want to cut off those dark spots that we didn't like. Right? Not a big deal. Right here is a bit of the stem in, not a problem. It looks real good on that one. Now, my normal paring knife, I like to use this, but it has a very pointy end on it that can easily shoot through the skin of this. My knives are all very sharp, but I want something with more of a curve on it so that when I cut through the avocado, it doesn't go straight through the skin. And the reason I'm doing this is simply to break this down a little bit, and it makes mashing the avocado a little bit easier. I'll show you what I mean. You know, it's interesting. Sometimes I'm very ahead of the game when I'm doing one of these recipes and I have everything sitting out. And then some days I look around and I'm like, man, I can't believe I forgot that. And sure enough, I should have had a spoon sitting out here. And all you really need to use is just a good quality, a good tablespoon like this, soup spoon some people call. Run it underneath the avocado and along the skin, and it'll all just break loose like so. And you have smaller chunks that make the mashing just a little bit easier. You can use a fork to mash. You can use a potato masher to mash. There are all kinds of mashers that are created that do a really good job on this, but if all you have is a fork will do. And that's what I'm going to use today. So you gotta get to see how that's done with a fork. Got my fork out and ready, but I have more to cut and put into that. Now, if you notice, I've used 2 small avocados. That means I don't need a whole lot of everything else. What I'm going to do is make some fine dice with this onion. And if you remember, we cut this just a little bit earlier. I'm going to run my knife into it once near the bottom, one more time a little higher up. I'm going to make some vertical cuts with the tip of my knife, and I want them to be close together. Put that out of my way. There, you see that really fine dice like that? Let me get these larger pieces out of my way. This real fine dice is what I'm wanting. And if you notice, I have here about 1/4 of a cup to those 2 small avocados. And if you want more, you can put more in there, don't worry about that. But if you've seen, this is a wonderful way to cut down an onion. And it uses all of the onion, and it keeps it from weeping all over the place. There's not a lot of onion juice everywhere, and my eyes aren't watering at all. So, very advantageous. Next item. My cilantro. I want to use about 2 tablespoons fine chopped cilantro. Of course, a bit of salt. Okay. It's about 1/4 of a teaspoon. And about a teaspoon to start with of lime juice. Not a whole lot. Now there's one last ingredient, and I have to get it, so just one moment. And there's our secret ingredient. We need a little bit of a hot sauce, and you choose whatever brand you want. 5. I want enough in there to get good flavor. And take my fork and start mashing everything right against the side of my bowl. And you don't have to make it perfectly smooth. If you like a lumpy avocado dip, for heaven's sakes, leave it lumpy. If you like it really smooth, just keep mashing a little while longer and we'll get there. Simple that is. Plain old fork. Some ingredients into it. Now, a beautiful guacamole. If you like tomato in your guacamole, then fine dice some tomato just the way I showed you earlier on the Pico De Gallo and use it. Now, first thing I'm going to do with this I'm going to get another fork, and I'm going to have, or excuse me, a spoon, and I'm going to have just a little taste so I can know if my ingredients are balanced. Does it need salt? Does it need acid? That's what I'm asking myself. Yes, it's a little mild. Just another pinch of salt. A teaspoon and a half of lime juice. Okay, now, I feel certain that got me where I want, so I'm going to use the fork that I've been mixing this with to give a taste. Oh, absolutely. Dead on perfect. Got a nice sharp bite to it. Avocado creaminess. The cilantro and onion come through. It's a good complete balance. A slight burn from the hot sauce. Not enough to really bother you, just enough to notice. And the flavor from it is excellent. So, there we have simple guacamole. To go with our fajitas. Yummy. Alright, now I need to go ahead and get these vegetables ready for cooking. But what I need to do is to remove the skin and the stem from each and every one of these. And the way I'm going to do that is quite simple. I'm going to turn a couple of burners onto high. And I'm just going to put these right on top. You will hear popping and crackling and little noises, and that's just that skin blistering. Time for us to give our chilies a wash. I'm just going to wash off that blackened exterior. Now, the poblano, removing the crown is really simple. Just clean this off. And if some of that little black material stays on it, not going to hurt a thing, okay? Open it up on the side, just tear it away from the crown. That's all you have to do. Open this up, on the side, put it on. There. Wash out my seeds, what's left. And now, it's ready to be cooked. So the method I used on the poblano, notwithstanding, I'm going to use a little different method to show you a different way of decrowning one of these. Take a paring knife, insert it, and with a sawing motion, very gently, in a circle, you can cut that stem right out, just like so. There we have a hollowed out bell pepper. That would be great for stuffing right there. It's absolutely perfect for stuffing and would look just beautiful that way. However, that's not what we're going to do with it. We're going to take it, I'm going to open it up down the side, we're going to lay it out, and I'm going to cook these things open just like this. We now have this very beautiful and colorful array of vegetables just about ready for hitting the grill. Now there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. You can take these peppers and cut them into thin slices and just go ahead and throw them down into a skillet with a little bit of oil and cook them until they're lightly toasted. Okay? Until they start to brown a little bit on the edges. That's when they start getting really sweet and the flavor starts really popping on them. The other way you can do it, and this is what I want to do today, is I want to take these out and I'm going to put them directly onto my grill. And I'm going to grill them along with the meat, and that way they're going to get some of the smoke, that mesquite smoke that the meat's going to get, and it's going to permeate through everything. And that's what I want. So I'm just going to take these in the state that I had them, which is just busted open like so. And that'll wait and lay them flat out on that grill. And I'm going to put them right here in a bowl. And our onion, I want to go ahead and prep it as well. This is going to be really simple though, and remember, we're going to leave the root end intact. I want to take off that stem end and get the outer layer out of my way because it's a little bit thin and papery, and it doesn't cook up well. Okay, there we go. Now, all I have to do is just cut some simple onion rings with this. You have to be careful when doing this because this can roll around a lot. One way you can do it is to lay it flat and just slice right through it, just like so. Nice and safe. You get a good fat ring this way. You can also make these thinner just however you want. I prefer a good thick cut as to a thin one when it comes to fajitas. Isn't that a simple way to cut that? Good and safe. You don't have to worry about it rolling around on you. I can throw the rest of this away, and we didn't have any problems with an onion making us cry because we left that root end intact right to the very end. Now I can turn that end over, face it down, and it still won't give me any problems. Alright, these rings of the onions can go directly on the grill also, just like that. Well, the meat is still marinating. It has about another 45 minutes to go. I have my vegetables that I have put in this bowl and covered. They're ready to put on the grill at any time. Now, it's just time for me to kick back and relax. Enjoy a bit of a break. Everything else is done. The guacamole's ready. Pico De Gallo's ready. I have some grated cheese that's already ready. I mean, unless you want to be the Yankee side of it and put some sour cream in there too, you can do that. That's alright, it's acceptable. In Tex-Mex, it's acceptable also. So, see you on the other side after I've had a nice rest and that's finished doing its thing. Remember, take these and turn the meat all the way over every 30 minutes so you get good marinating all the way around. They're looking beautiful. Alright, I have been preparing my grill. My wood back here is smoky hot. It's putting out good smoke now. Let's just take our meat. I'm going to place it right down on that grill. And I'm going to fold that tip over, a little thin tip. Like so. That way it doesn't overcook, yet it still gets a good smoking. Now, on those vegetables, let's take a look down here a little bit. Let's go ahead and remove my lid. On these, you can just place a little bit of oil and then put them right down on the grate. A little shake to work that oil in. Right on your grill with the rest of everything else. See why you want to cut that onion nice and thick. Don't forget, season those vegetables. On the grill. Okay, let's just let it cook up. I've had everything in here for approximately, about 5 minutes now, maybe 5 and a few seconds. Turn that over, get charring on it, open up that end so it can finish cooking. There, isn't that beautiful? Vegetables are cooking up beautifully. Getting a nice char on them as well. keep them as rings. Easy to work. There we go. Give it about another 4 to 5 minutes. That's going to get you a medium well at about 5 and 5 on each side. If you do 5 and 4 or 4 and 4, you're looking closer to about a medium, and that depends on the thickness of that skirt. Okay, we have brought our meat in. If you'll look, we have some beautiful sear marks on the meat. It is just absolutely fantastic looking, and I guarantee you this recipe is going to blow your mind. Now, first thing I want to do, I have my board out here, and this board is commonly used for cooked meats. However, cooked vegetables can be cut on this as well. Now, what I'm going to do is just make my way through each of these chilies, cutting them down into nice little strips. If I see some of that skin that looks unsightly, I can just pull it off. There we go. I'm going to take my poblanos first and put those right in the middle. And then I'm going to take the orange and then the yellow up top, and then the red. We have a very festive platter coming together here. Over on the side, I'm going to put this purple onion, this red onion. It's got that nice purple color to it. Gorgeous. There we go. Now, I have room for my meat below. We're getting there. Get rid of this. Area a little. Time for meat. Let's start with this big, beautiful piece here. Now, this is what I wanted to tell you about cutting fajita meat, and this is so important. The grain runs this way, remember? It runs like this. You can see the very distinct grain running that way. Same here. So, I don't want to cut that with the grain, I want to cut it against. Notice how my knife is tapered out? It gives me a nice angled cut. It's pretty. Looks good. Shows off my meat well. There we go. This meat's blazing hot. Tell you what, that looks absolutely heavenly. What I've done here, see this? Move this over. That is a gorgeous platter ready for fajitas. Anybody would love that. Take a look at this. It's absolutely beautiful. Fajitas, this is the way we do it in Texas, and we really jazz it up sometimes. Here I have poblano peppers and some beautiful bell peppers in different shades, and also these red onions. You don't have to use red, you can use whatever you want. And this wonderful skirt steak that's been marinated for hours and then grilled with mesquite smoke. Up here I've got this beautiful guacamole, fresh made. We got some Monterey Jack cheese, that's a pepper jack, and over here I have just a little bit of Pico De Gallo and also some corn tortillas, and that is the way we do fajitas in Texas, folks. If you want to try this out, give it a shot. If you like, also you can add in sour cream. It's not one of my things, and it's not traditional to Mexico either, so I just kind of leave it out unless I'm just in that mood. Give it a try. I think you're going to love this stuff. There it is. Real Texas fajitas from the Lone Star State. I tell you what, this is a wonderful flavor. You need to give it a try. Ooh, it's hot. Doesn't need to be good and hot. You can heat them in an oven or you can steam them. I'm going to take a couple pieces of this meat here, lay it in there. I just want a couple of chilies to go with it. This is my favorite way of doing it. Some Pico De Gallo. Right down the middle. And of course, the guacamole, it would would just be empty without guacamole. And there we have it. The real Texas fajitas. Sometimes these are messy to eat, but they're always good. Flavors of home. I tell you what, give this a shot, you're going to be blown away. The flavors are great. This meat is so tender, juicy, full of flavor. It's beefy, and it's well marinated. To you, thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today, and, well, you have a good day. Oh, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today, the show where you can get great recipes and the best techniques are taught. Please subscribe to Texas Cooking Today, where you will always find something hot and ready to eat.